Hello everybody, Will Walbeoffe here, and what a beautiful day on the banks of the river Danube. Today we are discovering Bleu De Chanel by Chanel. And that music you can hear in the background, that of course is none other than Strauss and the piece, the Blue Danube. Some things in this world force cultural change. For example, Martin Scorsese, who actually directed the advert for this in 2010, he's changed the way we perceive New York, Wall Street, inside the boxing ring. Other forces are less vocal. They do, however, exert their force on our culture. The Danube River, for example, is one of them. It sits silently, although it meanders through most of Europe. 93 million people live in this river's basin. Within the EU, there's only 450 odd million. That means about a fifth of people in the EU are directly affected by the water that runs past me. I think a similar thing can be said about this perfume. It has changed the culture of scent. Industries have bent to its wills. Companies have had to change direction and swim upstream. And of course, many individual memories have been carved in stone by this gentle blue elixir. Well, I guess I probably have to talk about the scent a little, don't I? As soon as you spray this, you're hit with a citrusy, peppery opening. Now this gently meanders into ginger, nutmeg, jasmine with a good glug of Isoe Super for good measure. And then when you end with incense, wood, and a really beautiful musk. It really is a masterpiece. So in 2022, about a decade or more after its launch, is it still relevant? Well, yes, we're still in the midst of the blue tsunami that swept over Europe and the rest of the world. It's the godfather, it's the granddaddy of blues. Everything that came after it was just an imitation, an adaptation. Should you buy this year? Well, if you're a collector of fragrances and you enjoy fragrances, then this is a must in your collection. The EDT has lost some of its allure. It's like a monster hit that's been overplayed, a little bit like the Bee Gees in the 80s. Disco is dead. But the parfum, that really is something quite special and not overplayed at all. Just because it's overplayed, does that make it bad? No. Freaking love the Bee Gees. If you're a fragrance fan, this is like owning Sgt. Pepper's for a music fan. It's just a must-have in your collection, even if it's just a point of reference. Now we have to talk a little bit about the bottle. Now I have a love-hate relationship with the men's line of Chanel. I love the female bottles, but I hate the male bottles. I don't know why. They all look similar. The Allure Homme Sport is just horrific. But this is the only one that I actually think is very nicely done. It's understated, it's sleek, it's monolithic, it's got a beautiful magnetic cap. It's just a joy to sit on the shelf. The Allure Homme Sport sits behind it because I'm just not a fan of that bottle. I don't know, are you? Let me know in the comments below. And I'm gonna give myself a little bit of a spray for the day. It's not quite the weather for it, but it is about -2. I don't know if you can see the frost on the stones behind me. Hello everybody. Did you enjoy part 1 of the video? Wasn't it quite sensational and cinematic? But anyway, enough of my nonsensical ramblings. Let's get on with some note discovery. As you can see, I have got a bucket of raw material here in front of me. It is by far the most amount of raw material I've done for one of these videos. Now I've separated them into top, mid, and base. And what we have is grapefruit, lemon, peppermint, spearmint, ginger, jasmine, jasmine cis aroma chemical. I don't have any Isoe Super, I've run out, but I've got timber silk, similar. Nutmeg, vetiver, cedarwood, sandalwood, sandella, which is the aroma chemical version of sandalwood, and patchouli. Got plenty here to play with and try and discover some of the notes of Bleu De Chanel and really pull out and explore some of these smells. So I sprayed about an hour ago here. I'll do a quick fresh spray on this arm. And I also have a scent strip. So I think I've got enough here to kind of to play with. It's quite famous for its opening, this perfume, quite a citrusy peppery opening. So I guess let's start with the citruses. Let's go for grapefruit. Every time I do this, it just always amazes me. I smell the perfume, Bleu De Chanel in this example, and I try and visualize the notes, and I try and separate them and pull them out. And it's really difficult. It's really difficult. I struggle. And then I do this. I get my notes, my raw material, and I smell grapefruit, and I smell my arm, and immediately, I describe it as like a spectrum, and it's all the colors of the rainbow, and suddenly the grapefruit just jumps up, and you can just pull it out. It's obviously still a very complex perfume here on my arm, but the grapefruit, wow, it's really punchy. Now, doing this is really satisfying because when I do my own perfume and I get to the finished product, I always find that they're a little bit underwhelming, a little bit simplistic. And I think it's mainly because we're our own biggest critic, aren't we? Whenever we make a film or a piece of art or anything, we always hyper-analyze. But now smelling this, Bleu De Chanel, I mean, considered a masterpiece, and just smelling the grapefruit and the lemon, it's very simple, the top. It's very simple, the opening. But the complexity is in the dry down. The complexity is in the projection. The complexity is in the longevity. That's where I really struggle. Anyway, onwards. Lemon is in there, grapefruit is in there, and it's fantastic. Woofed! Peppermint. Peppermint is one of the greatest essential oils. It just reminds you of being a kid. I mean, it's in there. Well, mint is in there, whether it's peppermint or spearmint. Spearmint is much dirtier, less clean mint. It's got much more earthiness to it. Really lovely, actually, really lovely. Yeah, I think if there's a mint in there, I think it's spearmint. Peppermint is just a bit too clean. Although it does say it's got, you know, a peppery opening, which would make you think peppermint is more likely than spearmint. But who am I to know? Okay, so those are the top notes done. And as an opening for a fragrance, it really is pretty special. It's a really difficult one for me to review. I don't wear it, Bleu De Chanel. As I mentioned in part one, it's overplayed. Somebody on Fragrantica mentioned it's like a teenager in a cheap suit. I can kind of see where they're coming from. The EDT has lost some of its allure over the last decade. The Parfum is a masterpiece. I freaking love that one. I wear that more often than this, but I wanted to do my note discovery on the classic. But as an opening, it's a total rock star. I think there's a lot of naturals in the opening, and that makes sense because, you know, you buy on the first sniff. You need to get that amazing, wonderful first impression. Right, let's go on to the mids. So, in no particular order, we have ginger, jasmine, and nutmeg. So, let's go for the ginger. Now, this ginger is, it's pokey. Really earthy, really, I mean, it smells like it's still in the ground, the root of the ginger. It's not that clean ginger you get from ginger tea or, you know, ginger biscuits. So I'm moving on to the one I sprayed about an hour ago here, just to get to the mids. It's funny, the more I do these note discoveries on the perfumes that I own and the fragrances I own, the more the more I enjoy them, the more I can see the skill and just the pure art within it. Whoa! Jasmine. Oh, if you do not have jasmine as a raw material, just get online and go and buy it. Don't get a synthetic, get organic, and it's just... it's a perfumer's delight. It's just so freaking good. Wow, much more jasmine in it than I anticipated. Like the ginger, I was struggling to pull it out there, and I think I got there, but the jasmine, it's fascinating, because just smelling the fragrance on its own, I don't think I would have identified jasmine. But smelling that, and smelling this, it's like all I can smell now is jasmine. Wow. Wow. So I have jasmine essential oil, or jasmine absolute, and I've got jasmine cis. Now this is so much more one-dimensional, so much more one-dimensional. The reason why I'm pretty much convinced this is not going to be organic jasmine is because it is horrifically expensive, but it will be a jasmine accord that will be in here. ISOE Super, I'm gutted I've run out of ISOE Super. Timber Silk is a great alternative, but it's so mild on its scent. Just like ISOE Super, a lot of people can't even smell it. But it's got that lovely, pillow, fluffy cotton smell. And I'm gonna struggle to identify. And plus, it is ISOE Super, that is Timber Silk. Nutmeg. I don't think there's I can't smell nutmeg. Oh, God, it's good. Nutmeg is such a, I make a granola that has a bucket ton of cinnamon and nutmeg in it. I freaking love it. So I eat it every morning. I think nutmeg is being used here to create a very peppery feel. It's a real peppery spice, and it gives that amazing kind of nasal effect when you smell black pepper. It makes you want to sneeze. And I think that's where in the top notes people say peppery. I think it's coming from the nutmeg, from the spice of that, and maybe mixed in with the ginger. But as I'm going through this, I am liking the fragrance more and more. I think I'm gonna have to start wearing it a little bit again, just to kind of, to give it its due course, you know, to give it its credit. Vetiver. Vetiver, one of my favorites. Sticky, icky vetiver. Oh, I mean, it's just, oh. If you get the raw material, oh, the smoke that's erupted. The vetiver is putting its feet in the ground, and it's giving it an organic sense, an organic sensibility. I think without the vetiver and the patchouli, it would feel too ethereal, too flippant, too floaty. This is what gives it that masculine grounding, I guess. So I think it's interesting to go straight to the patchouli, because I think it's a patchouli vetiver kind of combo that's really giving it that nice, oh my God, that's stiff, that nice masculine feel. Hippie juice patchouli. Patchouli is very dirty, but this is very clean. And it's using a kind of a soap accord to give it that shower gel, clean flavor, which I'm not going to go into and identify, but the aroma chemicals you can get that are just so soapy and bubbly. There'll be a beautiful accord that's used in this. They have to be clean, soapy, fresh, but also fit the masculine bill. Quite a difficult challenge. Woofed. That's so much more toppy when it's off the skin. It's night and day. It's night and day. I can smell quite a bit of cedarwood in there. Yeah, I really can. That's lovely. It's a lovely use of it. And then, of course, the sandalwood. Lovely, lovely sandalwood. One of the greatest raw materials. It's velvety, it's smooth, it's caramel, it's woody. And again, that gives it the sweetness. I think it's got buckets of sandalwood in it, to be honest. But again, it will be synthetic because sandalwood is prohibitively expensive. It's not like Chanel can't afford it, but I'm pretty sure they'll be looking for as much profit as possible. That's the base. This is Sandella. There are other sandalwood aroma chemicals, but once you come back to the sandalwood, so much more complex. What an amazing, amazing journey going through the tops to the mids to the bases. You've just got to go out and get some raw materials. For example, this cost me about £70. I think all of these raw materials are probably the same price. And once you have a collection of them, you can pull out any of your fragrances and you can start to then pull out the the actual sense from them, and you get such a better understanding for them and such a better appreciation for the art and craft that goes into it. Right, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I've had an absolute blast. If you have, please give the video a like. Why not share it? If you haven't already, of course, come on into the family and subscribe. My name is Walbeoffe, and I'll see you soon.